Alright, so good morning, guys. It's Friday morning. On my way to work. And I get some questions. I get a lot of questions often about am I happy with the STI? Should I have gotten something else? More specifically, should I have gotten a WRX? Or they ask me, should I get a WRX or an STI? I mean, it's a pretty common question, and this topic has been discussed, obviously, in depth on YouTube. But I figured I'll give my opinion because I've been asked this question quite a few times. So I figured I would just post up a quick video on the way to work and kind of just describing my thoughts as to, I guess, why I chose the STI as opposed to WRX. But let me start off by saying that I had a 2013 WRX hatchback about 5, 6, or 7 years ago, I forget. And it was a great car. I really loved it. Naturally, I obviously wanted the STI, but it ended up I got a good deal on the WRX, and I was really happy with it. I modded it the way I wanted it to, and it was a lot of fun. I especially loved the hatchback version. And it was just a really fun car, but I kind of got tired of it. I was having my first kid at the time, so I was looking for something a little bit more practical. I know that hatchback was pretty practical. I always say I should have kept that car and just kind of kept it as a daily and got something else, but that's in the past, and I ended up selling it. So after my dadmobile, I kind of got I got the itch to get something fun again. So my first thought was, an STI. And so I started doing some research, and, lo and behold, I got into an STI. But when I was there, when I went there to go pick up my STI, my salesman actually said, hey, why don't you go test drive this limited WRX. It was in crystal white pearl. It had, all the options and everything. And he's like, hey, just go out, test drive it, see what you think. It's a really great car. I'm curious to see if you'd be more interested in that over the STI. So I took it out, drove it around, and to my surprise, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I came pretty close to buying it. But I guess in the end, my goal here was to go in and get the STI, mainly because, I wanted the brakes, I wanted the giant wing, I just wanted the STI heritage, I wanted the gearbox. So naturally I ended up with that, and I'm really happy I did. Because I know me, and I know if I did get the WRX, it kind of would have been something I already did before. It's like, you already been down that road and you've already modded that kind of car. Granted, the previous generation, the GR WRX and the current are very, very different. But to me, in my head, I was going in for an STI, and if I drove out of there with a WRX, it would have been kind of not upsetting, but it would have been, I don't know. I just know in a year or so of having the WRX, I would have said, I wish I got the STI. So now that I'm about 2.5 years into it, and I have 24,959 miles, I modded it. I'm still modifying it the way to get it to where I want. And I gotta say that I don't think I made I don't think I made a mistake at all. Having the STI and with the brakes and all that, it's such a fun experience. I know it's not the funnest car. I know it's not the best looking or the fastest car, or even the most reliable, but I don't care. It's still an extremely fun car to drive. Like I said, I put 24,000 miles on it, and this is probably the first car since my M3 that I don't have the urge to run out and go get something else. as a car guy, I'm always saying, like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. I mean, those thoughts are still running through my mind, but you know, it's. I don't feel like it's as big as I don't think it's as big of a necessity or feeling that I have to go out and get something else because I'm so bored of this. You know, this is really keeping my attention, which is, you know, one of the reasons why I get the STI. You know, I wanted something that would keep me busy and keep me happy for a long time. You know, I was owning cars for about 2 years, and you know, I would modify them and then sell them, and then, you know, move on to the next. And I just couldn't seem to really get happy in a car. You know, no matter what I did or how I drove it or what, you know, whatever, it just never satisfied me. And for some reason, the STI is really, it's kind of checking that box for me. You know, of course, I want to step up into something, you know, in the higher, you know, I want to go to an M3 or even a GT 350 or something like that. But it's a pretty big jump in terms of price and just overall, you know, maintenance costs and stuff like that. So I kind of get grounded when I'm realizing this is a pretty cheap car to maintain. The modifications and aftermarket and stuff is it's pretty cheap, or cheaper, I should say, than you know, Germans or something a little bit more expensive. So it kind of keeps me grounded. It makes me realize what I actually do have, and I appreciate it more. So for anyone thinking, you know, oh, should I get WRX or STI? I think it really boils down to A, your budget, and B, your needs. You know, those are two really important things that you need to take into consideration when buying a car like this. You know, off the bat, the STI is, sorry, I'm just turning here. The STI is a much more raw car. You know, the gearbox is more notchy, the suspension's stiffer, it's louder. There's a lot more rawness to it. You know, some obviously may argue that previous generations were more raw, which I do agree. But comparing this current generation between the WRX and STI, the STI is extremely raw compared to WRX. When I test drove the limited WRX when I was buying this, and then I drove this back to back. It gave me a good perspective to see, you know, exactly what the differences are, and you know, I was able to tell right away, like, oh, this feels like this feels like that. And one of the big things that I did notice was the WRX just felt much softer. To me, it felt much better as a commuter car than a fun car. You know, if you're driving 50, 60 miles a day, and you know, you drive for work, you drive far and everything, and you want something more comfortable, the WRX is definitely for you. You know, I know you definitely could take this, you know, driving 50, 60 miles a day, but to be honest, it's a little rough to do that. You'll get really tired of it quickly. Not to mention, you know, gas prices. I'm not crazy right now in New Jersey, but you know, you're going to be going to the gas station at least every 5 to 7 days. You know, I commute about 6, 7, 8 miles a day, or one way to work. You know, so I'm doing about 12 to 15 miles a day. So I am not commuting by any means in terms of, you know, my drive to work. It's pretty short, so to me, that was also a reason why I got the STI. You know, I didn't need that extra comfort or better gas mileage or anything like that. But if you're in a position where you're needing to drive so much, and you're on the highway and you just want something more relaxed, WRX, no question. If you're in a position like me where you don't drive that as much, the gas isn't really expensive, or you really don't care about gas mileage. And also, if you want to track the car, I feel like the STI is a better platform to start off of, mainly because, you know, you got the better drivetrain, you got better brakes. It's a little bit more focused towards the track, or you know, more spirited driving. Don't get me wrong, the WRX, you can make that car even faster than the STI for less money, no question. But you really have to separate, you know, what your needs are for the car, and that's really important, because a lot of people get caught up in that. They buy something that they shouldn't necessarily have bought, and then they end up getting rid of it sooner, and then they have a bad taste in their mouth because of their experience. So you really have to figure out what you're using the car for. And to me, I have a short commute to work, and I drive on back roads mostly. So to me, and also that I had a WRX before, so to me, the STI fit me much better than the WRX. And also it comes down to budget. A limited WRX compared to a base STI is actually pretty much the same price. I know when I was getting this one, it was literally, I think, like $1 difference in terms of the monthly payment. So that's not really, that big of a deal. If you want something fully loaded and limited, you're looking at close to base STI pricing. I don't know what it is currently. It may have changed a little bit, but I think it's going to boil down to probably around the same price. But I think if you're your price bracket is, in the mid to, lower to mid 30s, maybe, if your price bracket's in the mid 30s, and you have some room to play, I think the STI is obviously a better financial move if you have the means to do so. But if you're kind of pushing your budget at like 30, then I think the WRX obviously is a smarter move. But to me, I honestly don't think you can make a bad choice. I think if you get the WRX, you're going to be more than happy. They're both great cars. They just have a different purpose. And there's days when I've like, oh, I wonder if I should have gotten a WRX. But I know me, and I know if I did do that, I would have thought, oh, I wish I got the STI. But I guess it can go both ways. If you got the WRX, you can say, oh, I wish I got the STI, or vice versa. But I really don't think anybody in that situation can really make a bad choice. They're both great cars. They both, to me, I think look good. I think they both sound good. And also, one of the things about the WRX is, it has the FA motor. It doesn't have that boxer rumble. So a lot of people were, mad about that at first. But honestly, I think it sounds pretty cool, especially when they're modified and they have exhaust and tunes and stuff. I think the FA motor sounds really good. And to be honest, even when I test drove them back to back, I wasn't missing the rumble. It still had a good sound to it. So I don't think people, unless you're like a die-hard EJ fan, which is kind of weird if you are, because the EJ is not the best motor in the entire world. But I mean, I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think you'll miss that rumble really, because the WRX sounds really good. I've heard some pretty sick WRXs sounding pretty awesome. Actually, even better than my car. And the thing about the WRX exhaust is if, an STI, if you put an exhaust on it, pretty much all of them sound the same. They all have that boxer rumble. They all have that typical Subaru sound. So you can't really, I don't want to say you can differentiate different exhausts and stuff. Obviously there's quieter ones and louder ones, but they all have a similar tone. Whereas the WRX, I feel like there's so many options out there and there's so many different types of sounds. There's a lot of ways to go with that, and I like that. I don't like having one sound for one car. I like being able to change it up and kind of sound a little bit different than the car next to you. And that's one of the great things about my E46 M3 I had a while ago. I actually had 9 different exhaust setups on that because I love doing it. I love changing it up. I love trying to make it sound better and different. And and after doing that, I became somewhat of a E46 M3 exhaust specialist just because of all the different options I tried out. But that's another thing I did like about the WRX is you can make it sound very different as opposed to the STI. I know you can do equal length headers and stuff, and you can do wastegates and all that, or external dumps. But I don't think I said this, but I don't think anybody can go wrong. They're both really great cars, and to be honest, I came very, very, very close to buying the WRX. And that surprised me because I went in for the STI. That's all. I wasn't even thinking about WRX. I even said, I was like, no way I'm getting WRX. I want an STI. I want the STI heritage, the brakes, everything. And I came so close to buying that WRX just after one test drive. So I mean, that to me told me a lot, that the WRX is really that great of a car, because I was so focused on getting that STI that it really shocked me. You know, as a car guy, you know, usually you know what you want, and there's like kind of no other way of changing that. But I don't know, man. The WRX is a really great car. I think you can make it sound and look really cool. You know, and you can do it for a hell of a lot less money. You can be at close to 400 wheel horsepower, you know, reliably on E85 for, you know, a couple grand. You know, obviously it depends on what parts and brands you use, but that's a pretty big jump. Going to 400 horsepower in the STI, it's A, not as reliable, and B, a lot more expensive. You got to do a lot more. You know, the EJ motors are a lot more finicky, and you got to make sure you're doing it right. And there's a lot more that goes into, you know, getting those numbers up there. So if you're really looking for power, you know, quick, cheaper power, the WRX is definitely a better bet. But who knows? I mean, there's obviously the Achilles heel to any type of sports car. You know, I know the issues obviously are the ringlings in this car. The FA motor, I know people have blown them up from putting too much power into them. So it doesn't matter. You know, E46 M3s, they had Vano issues. They had subframe. The whole subframe would almost rip out from the back of their car. The E90 M3s, they have rod bearing issues, throttle actuator issues. Even the new M3s, they have you know, turbo issues once you start putting power to them. I mean, I know that's kind of a typical thing with any turbo car, but you know, every single type of sports car is going to have an Achilles heel. There's going to be, you know, an expensive fix if you kind of mess with the car. So, you know, don't let that hold you back. As long as you go into whatever car you're choosing, as long as you go into it knowing what you're getting into, and you have the means to do it, that's fine. You know, you just need to make sure you know the difference between affording a car and being able to buy a car, because those are two very different things. You know, sure, I can go out and buy, you know, $100,000 car, but you know, maintaining it would be stress. You know, oh no, am I going to be able to change the oil this month? You know, I don't want to have that weight on my shoulders. You know, I always say I'd rather drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And to me, I'd rather drive a cheap car fast than an expensive car fast, I guess. You know, that's just me. You know, I'd rather spend time driving the car than worrying about things breaking and if I can afford them. But that's just me. I know everybody's different. Everyone's in different financial situations and everything like that, but I'm just more comfortable driving a cheaper car that's easier to maintain, and I guess I'm more familiar with and everything like that than something a little bit more expensive that is, you know, gonna make my butt pucker if I find out the bill on it. So I guess in conclusion, I'm really happy with my STI. I probably would get another one. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, I guess, in 2021 with the new motor, I guess the new chassis. I know the 2020 is exactly the same. So there's not going to be anything different in this coming year. But I'm really curious what Subaru is going to do with the next generation. You know, I'm kind of hoping for close to 350 horsepower and something a little bit more aggressive in terms of the wheel arches. You know, I really miss the GR look. I thought the fenders and everything, it looked a lot more mean in terms of, like, you know, a wider body. It just looked more aggressive to me. So I kind of hope they go back to that and you know, just make it a good car. You know, don't sacrifice on parts. You know, I don't care if it's a little bit more expensive. I'd rather spend a little bit more on a better quality STI than go with the same parts that they have been using for the past, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. But that's me. You know, I would get another one. I've actually have thought about trading this in and getting a 2020 white STI, you know, get the brakes and the new bumper and everything like that. But I don't think I'm going to do that just because of It's silly to make a whole new car payment it's silly to make a whole new car payment just to kind of get those updates that the 2018 Plus got. So, but I would get another one. I'm really happy with it. It's been a great car. You know, I had some thoughts about selling it, but it keeps pulling me back in, so I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, you know, my advice to anyone is, you know, have a budget and just go to a dealer and test drive both back to back. You'll know right away of what you like and what you want and what you prefer. Yeah, to me, that was, you know, I wasn't even going in for a WRX, and you know, I almost bought it. So driving back to back, it's the best way to go about it. A lot of people always just ask, hey, you know, what should I get? No, I don't know. I don't know what you need. I don't know what your budget is. I don't know what you should get. So my advice is just to go to a dealer, test drive both an STI and a WRX, doesn't matter what trim level, and see what you like the best. And I think you'll know right away what you need in a car and what you like just based off that test drive. So I guess that's it. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. I've been trying to you know, post up a little bit more. I had a bunch of those install videos that I put up. So be sure to check them out. I'm really trying to push out content as much as I can. Just, you know, I enjoy doing it. I've been missing that thing, that sharing experience with this car. I haven't been able to share it as much as I used to with previous cars. The forums are kind of dying, so I figured I might as well pick up my YouTube channel and kind of create some content for you guys, since I do get a lot of questions on it all the time. So I'm enjoying the experience, you know, kind of going through my ownership and what I'm doing to the car and everything. So again, thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, just ask them below. You know, I'm not going to be one to sit there and beg for subscribers or likes or anything like that, but you know, it would really help if you guys click that like button. It really kind of bumps up my videos so other people can see them and kind of I'll get more exposure, and it would kind of help me keep the motivation to keep going with these videos. I know they're not the best videos in the entire world, but I'm just trying to be true to who I am, and I'm just a dad in the garage modifying his STI with bolt-on parts and enjoying the process. You know, I'm not trying to break any records, or I'm not a horsepower number seeker or anything like that. I'm just like 95% of the people out there, and just sharing my experience of what I think about this car. So, you know, leave some comments below. I like the communication and the discussion. So, any questions, ask them below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.